Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers. Today, we are organizing our show again at South Sudan Women Intellectuals. For our show today, we are having our special session where we host personalities of interest, people of influence within the different governments of South Sudan. Today, I have the pleasure to host a very prominent member of the current government in Western Bahr Ghazal state. Our guest for today is Honorable Sarah Cleto Rial. And to begin with, I would just like to present a brief biography for Honorable Sarah. Honorable Sarah Cleto Rial, a 2014 Rotary Peace Fellow, is a women and human rights advocate and a recipient of the 2010 Eleanor Roosevelt Award for Human Rights. She's a South Sudanese by nationality who has headed unprecedented grassroots peace building initiatives. She's passionate about programs that promote equal access to services and seeks to change the lives of vulnerable populations for the better. Prior to her current position, Honorable Sarah was the program coordinator at the Ripple Foundation, Rethink Health, working on projects that focused on building a better system for health and well-being across the country. She was a director for the women-led nonprofit My Sister's Keeper and served as senior executive assistant at Management Science for Health, MSH. She is the founder and president of Global Partnership for Peace in South Sudan, which engages South Sudanese communities across the globe in working collectively for peace and social justice. In terms of academics, Sarah holds an MA in Political Science, Professional Development from American University in Cairo, Egypt. She has a graduate certificate on Women in Politics and Public Policy from University of Massachusetts, USA, and a Bachelor's of Science degree in Statistics and Demography from University of Juba, South Sudan. Honorable Sarah has received numerous awards for her work as a community organizer, activist, and advocate, including a certificate of recognition for outstanding leadership, community service, and was honored as one of the unsung heroes of the state of Massachusetts, USA. In 2020, Honorable Sarah was appointed the governor of Western Equatoria State, and I would like to mention that she is the second woman in the history of the Republic of South Sudan to be appointed a governor. From all of us here at South Sudan Women Intellectuals, first of all, I would like to congratulate you on your appointment and also to welcome you to this show. Honorable Sarah, you are most welcome.
Thank you and for the introduction. I hope you can hear me well because your voice is breaking up. I'm still trying to work on the network issue.
Okay, I can hear you clearly, and I believe our audiences can hear you also, but I will keep on checking to make sure that the connection works fine. So we will start our interview if that is okay with you.
Yeah, it's okay, but you are breaking up, so I'm trying to put my ears really very close to hear.
Okay. 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 All right. So just to give a brief introduction of our topic, if you cannot hear me, maybe you can write something in the chat and I would be able to get it. Our topic of discussion for today is on affirmative action and women representation in government institutions. We all know, Honorable, that during the CPA, the Constitution allocated 25% of positions to be given to women at all levels of government. Today, through the current revitalized peace agreement, the bar was raised to 35%, which means women should be appointed to different positions at different levels of government, uh, up to 35% in every institution. So, this is our area of interest for today. We would like to discuss this further and see what is happening that is denying our women from being granted their rights to representation and how we can work to bridge the gap between the current practice and what the law actually stipulates. But before I go into our topic, I would just like to ask you a few questions linked to the state affairs. We would like to understand better what strategies have you put in place for developing your state? What are your long term goals and short term goals? Over to you, Yo.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, and I'd like to greet everyone who's watching. It's my pleasure to be part of this panel discussion today, and I thank you, Annette, and the members of the South Sudanese women intellectuals for inviting me. It's really been an honor for me to come to be appointed to this position, and I would like to thank my members of my party for nominating me, and also to thank the President of South Sudan, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, for confirming my appointment. And it's been a pleasure since I came to WOW and connecting with my community here. Yeah, in terms of the strategy, I mean, this is something that we are still working on, and we need to have actually a team in place to be able to put our strategies together. But since I came, I was able to connect with communities here, and I am not new to Western Bahar Gaza. I have been working for many years in the field of education and also in the humanitarian work. So for so many years I've been here, and I was really glad to come back home. And the reception was really very encouraging, and gives me hope that there is something that our people are expecting. And so based since I came, I organized a lot of visits and talking with communities and in the neighborhoods in Wow Town in municipality, and I also visited the counties and the Payams, including areas that are still under the control of the SPLMIO. So what I notice is that there is a lot of divisions within the residential areas. You find that people are divided mostly along tribal lines, like see the Luos are in one area, the Fertits are in one area, the Dinkas are in one area. So my priority has been focused on forgiveness and how to bring our people together. So for us to strategize, since at this time we still don't have our team together as the government is not formed. Just 2 weeks ago, the deputy governors are appointed. They are not yet sworn in. So we are still waiting for the deputy governors to come, and then we'll have all the government formed. So basically, what I'm sharing with you in terms of the strategic plan, it's just the ideas that we're putting on the table until we have a complete government that we will be working on that together. So so we're using this as a reference. So I've been working with the director generals of each of the ministries that are here. Now, also the ministries are going to be restructured. they're going to be 17 ministries. So through our discussions or conversations, we have identified some short-term goals and then long-term goals. So the short-term goals are the bottom-up approach, which is mainly reconciliation and healing among our communities, how to build our social fabrics. We need something that will bring quick fixes to our urgent needs. And then also the long terms will be focused mostly on the top-down approach, which is on investments in infrastructure, development projects, and also doing a lot in terms of economic reforms. So these are basically the bigger picture in terms of the strategies that we are putting and this is something that we need to work on as a team. And until we have a full government, we'll not have a clear picture of what the strategies look like. But I have the idea, and then we'll come and talk around it, and also have our plan around that when we come to an agreement as the administration.
Thank you for raising some very critical points, among them the issue of divisions that exist among our people, as you mentioned about people living away from each other. And it's commendable the steps that you are taking to try to bridge the gap and bring the people together and foster unity in the state. As a woman, what are some of the key challenges that you have faced, that you've had to deal with in your current position as a governor?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it's kind of breaking up, but mm,
Okay, if I may repeat my question, can you hear me now?
yes, okay.
Yeah. My question was that as a woman, a governor of the state, what are some of the challenges that you have encountered in imparting your portfolio?
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to put that? Because I heard you say challenges, but I mean, if I get your question correct, I think you are asking about challenges that is facing me as a female. I I I look at myself, as it's not only the not a female only, but I'm the governor of Western Bahagasa, and look into that as we using our strength as using our strengths to put our hands together as women, as other women, and as the communities and leaders in the state. As I mentioned, the main thing is that our government is not complete. We are here to try. We are holding the space together and ensuring that work is going. But so far, the government is not complete, so we do lack budget. We don't have any budget that we are working with, but we just keep moving with what we have in the state. So we don't have a clear budget for our work right now. So this is one of the bigger challenges. But also not to have the government in place. There is a lot that one can do as a governor with all my other colleagues who are the administrators, but also the formation of the government, the presence of all the ministers and all when the assembly is formed, that will make things different from what we have right now. But we are running the affairs of the state as much as we can, and things are moving smoothly. There are certain challenges in terms of mobility and in terms of even being able to just establish programs that we would like to do, because we rely on budgets which we don't have so much now. Most of the organizations, especially the ministries, the service ministries such as the Ministry of Gender, Education, these health, we get a lot of support through NGOs, and through this work, that's what keeps us moving during at this time. However, we anticipate that the government will be formed soon, and everything will get in place.
Thank you very much. Earlier, we talked about some of the communal divisions that are there, as shown in the example you gave about people living in different neighborhoods divided on tribal lines. Just to take a question from members of our audience, there is someone, Mr. Rambang Tut Deng. He's asking, politics has divided our people. People have been divided on political lines, and his questions is, what are your plans to avoid the current division caused by the political elite?
Mhm. Yeah, I think, yeah, each and every person in Western Bahar Ghazal is yearning for peace and unity, and I will not take any credit for forging unity, but the people want peace and prosperity, and all that I am doing is to connect and facilitate at the grassroots level. As I said, I started visiting all the neighborhoods, and you can feel the division. But people are talking about coming together, and even some of the ideas or the programs that I'm thinking about. As soon as the deputy governor comes, we are now preparing to receive the deputy governor who's in Juba. So as soon as he comes, we'll come and sit together and try and start thinking of how we will move forward. And one of the first thing that I would like to do, that's also I'll put as a proposal, and I hope we come together and agree, is to organize a peace conference that will bring all of the citizens of Western Baragazal. And when I say citizens of Western Baragazal, all of us that live in this state is citizens of Western Baragazal. And I'm not only looking at the nationalities that are come out from Western Baragazal, everyone who's living as well. Generally, it's a metropolitan town that brings people from all the different states, that the neighboring states who are living in WOW. But we would like to organize a conference that will bring all the children, citizens of Western Baragazal from the Luo, from the Fertits, from Dinka to come together for a peace conference. So I partner with those who know best, the elders, the chiefs, and the women who are at the forefront of the grassroots in our South Sudanese communities. So one of the things that we are developing is to have a clear understanding of what are the needs that our people want. And things have come out a lot, especially around the security, around service provision. So my focus is going to be my priority is going to be focusing on forgiveness and reconciliation. And it's important that we see our people all living in harmony and coexist with one another. So as to help us to reconstruct our broken social fabric. But on top of that, I believe we need an environment, a conducive environment where everyone will feel safe and will feel welcome, and that we trust one another. I know there will be challenges on trying to do this, and things are going to be difficult before it gets easy. So I'm urging everyone in Western Bahr al Ghazal that we need to put our hands together. We need to work as South Sudanese and not look at people around their tribal affiliation or their gender, but we should look at one another as South Sudanese and as people of Western Bahar Bazaar. So for me, that is really important. Uh, and that's the messages that I've always been sharing with the citizens in the different places that I have visited. That we need to see what is possible when we, as the people of one nation, come together from diverse communities, trust one another, and also come and develop some creative solutions to end our grievances, build our unity, and also to resurrect hope in our families.
Thank you very much. On again on the issue of disputes and conflicts that exist among the people, I would like to take another question from a member of our audience, Mr. Chual Tap. He says that there are serious land disputes between the various tribal groups. And the issue of land is something that has been affecting a lot of our people across the whole country. And this is linked to the law. Issues of land grabbing arise since people look for settlements, and if they cannot get it the legal way, then they settle for other means by which to acquire land on which to live. So the question from Mr. Chualtab is, how is your leadership going to tackle this issue of land disputes between the various communities within Western Bahar Ghazal state?
Mm. Yeah, I think these are big issue. This is big issues. These are big issues, and since I came, there has been a lot of cases about the land grabbing, and this requires the Council of State to sit, and we require the minister to be in place before coming into in terms of decision of how to move forward with the issue of them. I think this is a critical. We are in a critical situation with these problems in general, and that's the first. These are the first problems and issues that I came across as soon as I arrived and assumed my office. The issue would require an order to be in place. We have to prohibit a new what I started because of a lot of issues, and for me to understand, I had to put the to prohibit new land demarcation, and until just recently. And then we need to do some audit in the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure, because there's some lands that we find that is owned by multiple people. Same land is owned by multiple people. So there need to be an audit in the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure. And with that, then it will help us to enhance the better land ownership procedures and enforce the law. So it will require the Council of Ministers to come together. And when we have the minister in place, I think a lot of this will be addressed, and it is on our agenda actually to address the land disputes issues that we are facing here.
Thank you, Honorable. Now I would like to shift to another part, which is on women. And this is my main area of interest today in view of
Yes, everyone.
policies on affirmative action
Mhm.
that are supposed to be implemented by all governments, be it the central or the state government. So my question to you is there specific policy developed in your state to look into issues of women? And if there is a policy, are they being implemented? Over to you.
Mm. The issues of women, and I think
Yeah, I would repeat the question. My question is there specific policy developed in the state to look into issues of women? And are these policies being implemented?
Mm. Yeah, there has been there is a policy implemented, especially around women's economic empowerment, gender-based violence, early marriage, and forced marriages. Uh, we have the state. So since I came to the state, because there is a lot to that's included there, especially around the gender-based violence. In most cases, includes like the rape, the denial of resources for women, denial of health access, such as education, things like domestic violence, early marriages. So the state has actually. I'm sorry, I think hmm. The state has actually there was a team, especially has developed the national or the state action plan that is taken from the national action plan, and sometimes I think this is work that has already been done that we're building on. For instance, the UNHCR 1325 plan is in place, and it has actually helped to advance many female leaders and increase the standard of girls who are a standard of girls in education, and also advanced women leadership. So the state has the plan to uh, the team has been working on it, evaluating the pillars of the resolution 1325, especially around the protection of women, gender-based awareness, women's rights in land, economic rights, health rights, things, and many others, and also around prevention, participation in relief and recovery. So we, as the government, we are working on it and have been in close contact with the Director General, sorry, at the Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare in terms of seeing, looking into the different programs that is already in place, and what we as the state have been working on. Women's issue, as we all know, could be very overwhelming, and you cannot have a, a set plan on one issue without covering so many, and it could not be resolved overnight. So we are working with women on the ground, and uh, and with everyone who cares about this issue. But it will take us time to develop a real comprehensive policy. But at the moment, we are working around the gender-based violence, because this is the rate has risen so high. I think there's the cases of the gender-based violence in 2020 alone was it increased by I think there was like 660 cases. That's just from a report at the end of the year. So the reason for that increase is because of the increase the poverty due to the wars. We have the destruction of the family structure. Were people ran, and now families are distracted. We also have the impact because of the COVID-19 um, that has impacted the youth, because they don't have a lot of programs. The schools are closed, and you see kids hanging around in the neighborhoods, and this has created a lot of problems among the youth. Um, Also, with regard to the early marriage, there is also a plan a policy that was launched in 2017 and 18, and that is to try to reduce early child marriage by 2030. But this will involve the government and all NGOs that are supporting in this area. So the policy of the ministry and the strategy plan to end early child marriage There's policy to support gender mainstreaming and the Child Act. All of these we are working on as the government and the ministry. We also have a strategy for empowerment, women's empowerment, and that involves training in micro enterprise for the markets. So women in the markets also receive a lot of training. Just recently in October, there were 300 women who graduated in small business training. But usually, most women who own business, they do not have that capacity to grow. They get a lot of support from NGOs to help them start the business, but there is a lot that needs to be done for them to grow into large or into bigger commercial commercial institutions. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that was kind of a big question asking about
Yeah,
policy and its strategy. And I
sure.
think that that requires that alone is a whole presentation. But I try to touch on a few areas where we do have strategies and plan in place.
Thank you, Honorable Governor, for that elaborate answer to my question. And you raised some very important points about empowering the women through training in micro enterprise and other areas. But a question that I would still like to pose is, what is the government doing to ensure that women entrepreneurs, small business women who work in the informal sector are able to access financial support from the banking sector and others? Since the government is not in a
Mm,
position to give them financial support, how are you able to ensure that the institutions with the financial capabilities offer them support?
mm, yeah. Mm, I guess I can. Yeah. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Yeah, I think we need to do a lot. I know we as the government we work with NGOs to help in the NGOs have been supporting a lot of these programs, government programs, but we get a lot of support through the NGOs. So what we anticipate or what we are hoping to be doing this period of time or during this administration is to lobby for cooperative banks to open branches in the state. And we also would like to reactivate cooperative association in the state and lobby other humanitarians and business communities to train the youth and women in small business management. And also we would like to create environments, conducive environments where we can attract more investors to the state. So that will help us to help empower people who are working in growing their businesses. So these are just some ideas to help that we would like to put in place to help with uh, development or capacity building, and also ensure that women and young women who are entrepreneurs are being supported in moving their businesses forward, and also growing in from a small business into larger businesses as well.
Thank you. Thank you. What is the status of youth and women employment in Western Bahr Ghazal state? What strategies are you using to include various groups within government and also within the private sector?
Mm. Okay, that's a question about the. Oh, Yeah. So definitely, I am in continuous communication with the in meetings also with the director generals of the ministries of youth and sport, and also the Ministry of Gender, in terms of developing, building on what is already in place, and also developing and improving more. So employment is of course one of our major concern. Youth and women in the state facing challenges of language. On the other hand, also there are some conditions regarding the criteria of who is supposed or who the organizations or other institutions are looking to employ. So this has been a major concern. For instance, you find that some organizations will ask for someone with at least a number of years of experience, and they will ask someone who has experience in a certain field or certain job. They also would require some degrees, like higher degrees, master's degrees, and some other qualifications or requirements that may be difficult for our youth and women to meet. So I think we need to do a lot of work in terms of collecting or having a database about our graduates and also the women who are also capable. And this will help us to know more about the employable population as well as the stabilization, and help us even address the issue of unemployment. So the youth, of course, they are the future of our nation, and we need to invest in the youth, train them. Training is also important for our government, and self-discipline for youth through other programs such as the sports. It's also a way to build the youth. Um, in terms of the public sector or the government, of course, this might be also a different level because for the private sector, of course, we need the bank or other programs to help in in terms of capacity building, but also in terms of the government or the public offices. That will also come back to us as women, because usually those people who are being appointed to government positions, they are members of political parties. So I would encourage women to also join the different political parties, because we have so many capable women who are being left out of positions that are available. So it will be important that we as women consider joining political parties if we are looking into public offices and also being part of policy changes within our country.
Thank you. You raise a very important point about women joining political parties and being active in politics. However, there's a lot that goes on in ensuring that this is achieved. And the past week has been very disappointing for us as women, because we
Mhm.
were watching the developments that are going on in at least two states so far. We saw the gubernatorial decrees for Unity State, and prior to that, for Central Equatoria State, appointing directors general. The appointments are
Mhm.
long overdue, and we believe other states would follow. Since two have already appointed the directors general, we believe the remaining 8 states would also appoint directors general, as well as consequently the ministers. In Central Equatoria, only one woman was appointed as a director general. In Unity State, 0 women were appointed among the 17 directors general that were appointed. As South Sudan women intellectuals, we wrote a letter to the governor of Central Equatoria on behalf of our sisters from Central Equatoria, whom we believe have the qualifications to be appointed to these offices. And we got a response, but nevertheless, it was not satisfactory, because it was based, the explanation given in the response is that some technical skills were missing. But we know for a fact Central Equatoria, among the states of Southern Sudan or South Sudan, has the highest number of qualified women who could have held those positions. So, as the governor of Western Bahr Ghazal state, what is your take on these appointments by your counterparts in Central Equatoria State and Unity State? The second part of my question is, what are your plans for Western Bahr Ghazal State? Because we aspire to see something different happen in your state. Over to you.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I was really disappointed when I saw the list, and I think the first thing I said, are there no women or what? The lists of the appointees. I think that was really disappointing, and yeah, we need to stand up really and make sure that these things change. Because we have seen that even with the appointments of governors, there were only one female governor, even though the agreement requires 35%. For that, the political positions, of course, this one go back to the SPLM or to the parties. Sorry, it goes to the different parties: the SPLM, IG, and SPLM, the OPP, and other parties, to ensure that they meet the 35% of female representation in all the appointments that are supposed to come at this period of time. I know we, as women, we don't look at the parties, but we are the glue. As I say, we are the glue of our societies. So we'll have to stand together if we want our issues to be addressed, because the issue of women, it comes as a whole. It's not as women from this party or that, but we as women, we are looked at as women. So we need to come if we have to make it to come together. I know we are going to face a lot of obstacles if we want to take public offices, and these obstacles are always not because that we did not contribute to the struggles, or not because we are not or because we are not educated. It is the strategic obstacles that continue to suppress and undermine us as women. So I would like to encourage on all of my sisters that the revitalized peace agreement provides 35% of representation in all institutions. And for me, that's what I will be looking at, because for the appointment of the director generals, of course, I will ensure that there is representation of females in those positions in our state. And this is something that we will work as a team to ensure that the representation, we at least meet the required percentage of women representation in the administrative positions. But I will also like to appeal for all the other positions, and especially the political positions. I would like to appeal to all the partners to the peace agreement to ensure that there is that women are fairly represented in the government, because I'm still anticipating and looking forward to the formation of the government, the ministries, the assemblies, and all the commissions. And those are divided, those positions are divided to the peace partners by percentages. So I would appeal and send messages to all the other parties to ensure that there is representation of the 35% affirmative action is met in all the representation. And we look forward to ensure that that's the case. Through in our party, in the SPLMIO, we have already said, we have already did the consultation, and we ensure that the 35% of women representation is met in all the government position or the political positions. And I will also ensure that the 35% affirmative action is also met in all the other appointments in the state, and that includes the director generals as well.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for this very promising response. And I believe we all look forward to seeing the composition of your government, because we believe that would be a government representative of us women within the state of Western Bahr Ghazal. And hopefully, it will also serve as an example for the other governors to follow and implement affirmative action across the country. We have serious concerns, and we believe that as the only female governor within our government, you speak for members of the female tribe. And in that regard, I would encourage you to have dialogue with your colleagues across political parties, bipartisan negotiations, and even have a forum where the governors are able to share ideas and advise each other on how to move forward. Because what would happen in Western Bahr Ghazal, I'm confident will take place, would have female represented in the government, but we would like to see the same reflected in the remaining states of the country and at all levels. Thank you very much. Um, a topic of interest for us is on women in prisons and children in juvenile courts. What is your state doing to support women who are in prison and also children who are in juvenile halls? Are there any gender desks at the various police stations in your state? And what role is this special desk playing in supporting the women and the children?
Mm. Yeah, I had an opportunity. I visited the prison on New Year's Day. I visited the prison, with both men and women's prisons. The men's prison is the situation there is really uh, dire. The population is so high for the facility, and I also visited the women's prison. At the time when I visited, there were 25 inmates, female inmates, in the prison. Um, so I do that program was organized by the Ministry of Gender and led by the Director General of the ministry. So we did visit the prison, and they have a lot of programs that they do because it's in a regular basis. They visit the prisons, they organize workshops, they also deliver dignity kits to the women, and they also take care of women who deliver. Actually, when I visited the women who have their babies in the prison, it was really really it wasn't a pleasant situation to see them that way. But they do work very closely with the women through their cases, and some of them are just maybe they need to pay some fines, and some the women get support to with the legal system help them, not to stay long in the prisons, but to find way to help them to get the freedom so that they will take care of the children outside of the freedom of the prison, because the women are raising their children in the prison, and that is not a good environment for the children. So the gender ministry advocate for women with children to be released, and also they follow up with the when the women are released, they follow up with them. I think there was a gender desk in the police headquarters, though I understand that it is not active, but we would like to activate it. That's something in the police headquarters, but there's none in the military yet, I believe. This gender unit needs more attention, and also needs to have like female officers who are working there. So that will help in terms of integrating gender mainstreaming in the sector. I think there was a recent training in Juba, where the commissioners of police were called to participate in the training. Also, director generals of the ministries of gender were also training in terms of gender mainstreaming in the security sector. So there are women who have ranks, even like you see the generals, but they are not appointed, or they are not deployed in those positions. They are not given assignment in specific duties. So that in itself is also negligent of these female who are officers in the police or in other organized forces. So I think we need to advocate for more of that to ensure that there is a gender desk in all of these different institutions. Uh, I believe there is no juvenile court in WOW, but there is a juvenile reformatory center, which I have not yet visited, but I'm planning to visit it in these coming weeks. Okay, is it is it frozen?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry, my apologies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I didn't hear you.
Yeah. So the United Nations Security Council passed the resolution number 1325 on women, peace, and security. And this was unanimously adopted in October 2000. Uh, Nations or signatories to the resolution were supposed to develop national action plan. Has your state done any work in relation to that?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that we did. The state started working on this actually since 2011, and they. So I have what they have started working on is what we continue to build on, and also to identify other areas where there needs to be more work. Yeah, so there was a team of local NGOs that started working on that in the state. Local NGOs such as WATAP and SEPO, they started working on that. So through this program, I think many women receive capacity building, and even uh, a lot of many have been advanced to some positions through the 1325 resolution. And there is still there is a lot of work that needs to be done still, and especially in terms of the four pillars of the resolution. In terms of protection, we need to have more awareness around the gender-based violence. Also talking around the women's rights in terms of land ownership and in terms of inheritance. Also, well, we find that yeah, they also need to be like advocacy for health rights, because some women are denied even for instance using contraceptives. Some families do not like women to use contraceptives and just continue to have birth. So we also want to encourage girls to return to school, and this has been going, but it needs a lot of work because so many girls are not able to return to schools. They also need to be a lot in terms of the social rights, inheritance. We need to have women chiefs. There are a few women chiefs in Western Bahra Ghazal, but we want to also ensure there's affirmative action in terms of chiefs promotion. Prevention, there is a lot around prevention, even for the gender-based violence victims. There is a safe home that is in the area where if any female is in danger, they stay in the safe home and until their process is done. So that safe home is not known to anyone except a few people. And then we also have work around relief and recovery. That wasn't, I think there was not a lot of focus previously around it, but now in terms of relief and recovery, we are conducting meetings with our partners on recovery and resilience in WOW. And so we champion the partnership for this recovery and resilience through our government. And we want to prioritize. So we are setting up, prioritizing what our state needs are. So we have regular weekly meetings in terms of the recovery and resilience program. So there is a lot that still needs to be done. We are moving there. It's still slow, but I think we are going towards that direction. But that also requires, in terms of women's participation, we need to put a lot in our education system as well.
Okay. Talking of education, are women and girls able to access free and quality education in your state? And what are the strategies, if any, that have been put in place to support girls' education in Western Bahar Ghazal state?
Mm. I think in terms of girls' education, this is the heart of my vision because I've been an advocate for girls' education. I worked with NGOs that promote girls' education, and I also through the organization we built a school for girls in a village in Akon village in Gogrial West County. So the education of girls is in my heart, and I will work to ensure that the education is strong, not only for girls but for boys and girls together. So there was an initiative about girl child education bill, and it was a bill. It was presented to the state ministry through Department of Gender. So there is progress there, but a lot needs to be done. And this bill is really important for us to implement it in our state. We continue to partner with NGOs in supporting girls at school, and there is national programs for helping girls. So in some of the in schools through the gender office or gender ministry, they have there are established clubs to offer space for girls to discuss their concerns, and also their workshop for parents association, and also other workshops directly with the parents to raise awareness about the importance of education for girls, importantly, but also education for all children. During this COVID period, the ministry has been doing door-to-door awareness and knocking on people's doors. There's some organizations that give incentives to girls in order to encourage them to go to school, like give them soap, oil, sanitary pads, some food items. Like the UK government do give some cash to girls to go to school, and other organizations give some in-kind support. So there's been a lot of support for girls to go to school and to stay in school, and there is now an idea even to help parents give parents incentives as well, because we don't want to leave anyone behind. Women, mothers, fathers, and brothers all should be included. There are men who are also talking to other men about the importance of educating their girls. So there is a lot that's going on, but we need to take care of our teachers as well, and as well as improve public schools, because the public schools are not getting a lot of support from the government. Teachers are not being paid in time. There are so many private schools. Those who can afford send their children to private schools, but many children are not going there because public schools need a lot of work, and that's something that we are going to be working on. We have been visited in the state by the national minister of education and instruction, Honorable Awud, and she has come and visited our schools. And when we hope through this initiative, there's going to be a lot of improvement in the government schools and in other education facilities, and also educational services in the state. And this is going to be a national program, but we also need, as a state, we need to put a lot of efforts in ensuring that we pay attention to government schools as well. We need more schools. We need scholarships for those who complete the schools to be able to go to colleges. So these are things that we really need to put our education on top, because education is the backbone of all any economy. If we want to progress, we need to ensure that our children are educated. There are so many children who have lost education for the past 8 years due to the war, and that is actually impacting our population. But we need to really speed up and support our generations before we lose a whole lot generations of young leaders who will miss a lot if we don't rescue the situation.
True, true. Education is the backbone of development in any country. But next to education comes the issue of the health. Uh, the health sector in South Sudan has unfortunately been neglected in a very bad way. The situation all over the country, it has been bad, but it's been worse in the rural areas. How are you ensuring that women have access to health facilities in not just WOW alone, but in the whole state of Western Bahar Ghazal? Are there any medical
Mm,
specialists, gynecologists, who are accessible to these women?
mm. I think your question is about health access and to
Yes,
rural
access to
areas,
health
because you're breaking up.
facilities. Yes, access to health facilities and specifically gynecological services for women.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. I think there's been a lot of uh, support for health facilities, and but we want to ensure access to medical health. I mean, ensuring that there is access to all the areas of the state, so that the focus is not in the center, or the focus is not in the capital city, but it's everywhere. So ensuring access to medical health is a lengthy process, and it takes like a considerable amount of time. But to uh, yeah, and it will require us also to work with partners. First of all, in terms of the health facilities, we know there's the WOW Teaching Hospital is the large hospital in the area, and it serves other neighboring all the neighboring states in many cases. But also the services is not enough, and people do go and seek medical services outside in Juba or even outside the country. But my hope is to develop this hospital that it becomes a large teaching hospitals that everyone comes and gets treatment in WOW instead of traveling out of the state or out of the country. So uh, so we actually assuring their health centers, their health units around in West Baragazal. Sometimes, in most cases, they are not enough, and sometimes access because of poor roads. But we are assuring through the Ministry of Health, we are assuring that women are getting the access to health facilities through reports. We get reports from districts or from the health centers of how many women are going to the hospitals, how many women are attending the clinics, how many women are delivering, and the number of deliveries. So all of this come to us from the health centers. So it tells us that the people are accessing the services in the different health centers and health units. We also there are also teams or caravans of vaccination and vaccination for children, infants and toddlers under 1 year olds and those who are under 5 year olds. There are also vaccinations for women who are the childbearing age. So all of these activities they are what we base our analysis in terms of the services reaching women. They are in terms of the specialists. There are three actually, according to the reports that I have. There are three doctors of OBGYNs in WOW Teaching Hospital, and there is also there's one in Raja Hospital, and so we have quite a number of skilled midwives who are around in the health facilities and nurses who are working, and they are senior medical officers in different health facilities. So all of these through the work that they do, we get report because on a weekly basis we have meetings with all the director generals and we get reports from the health ministry. But of course, coming out of war that has taken damaged a lot of our infrastructure. It's not enough. We need to have more facilities getting into the rural areas and also services in the rural areas. But sometimes we do lack the facilities and the distance. So if there is one center in an area, so many people come to it, but some people come from a long way, and the roads are not easily accessible. So these are some areas that we keep into our consideration. For us to have a comprehensive development, we need to have everything in place. We need the roads, we need the infrastructure in place, we need the buildings, schools, medicine, we need schools and health centers all in one place. It is a long term, but we need a lot of the services now. We need good health now. We need education now. We need to be able to eat now. So we have to plan for now, and we have to plan for the future as well.
Thank you very much. A lot of the work that needs to be done, most of the critical sectors in South Sudan, and I'm not referring to Western Bahar Ghazal alone, but in South Sudan as a whole, are being supported by the non-governmental organizations. To me, that's a big concern because we have not seen development take place in those areas for our government to be able to take over and oversee development in education, in health, infrastructure, and all the different sectors, or rather the different critical sectors that are currently being supported by the non-governmental organizations. So, as a state, because we want to see change happen, what strategies do you have to wean us away from relying on NGOs and for the government to take its substantive role in running these critical sectors? Because the NGO seems to be the one leading education, seems to be the one leading health, and so on. So, how do you plan to gradually take control of all these critical sectors and ensure that it's funded and run by the government for long term development of the people of South Sudan?
Mhm. Yeah, I know we depend a lot on NGOs due to funding and resources, also support, and there is a lot, and also building our partnership. I think there is a lot that we can gain from working with NGOs. And I think it is not bad. It's not bad at all because whatever they're doing, it's government work. It's the policy and the plan of the government. Since we don't have enough resources, they are helping us to implement our program. So I think it doesn't mean that we are going to be relying on NGOs all the time. So for us to step up, this could be done through self reliance. So one of the ways could be through cooperatives that we have been doing before. We have the culture of supporting one another during farming or even doing local work. You see women coming together and supporting one another. But these are just are small steps. But if we want to do more, we have to even invest more in commercial projects, especially like in the agricultural projects. We need to find better ways to generate revenues for our state and for our country. So we don't. I know we have been relying more on the oil revenue, but I think this is the time that we need to look into other ways to generate revenues. And agriculture, of course, is one of the area that we have to look into, and that I am hoping to be embarking on large agricultural projects, and that would also not only for subsistence farming, but to have commercialized ways of farming and be able to distribute the products into the market to help generate revenues. If we can have all of these, of course, we have a better future for us in South Sudan. I think some of I believe the obstacle that has been facing us is the insecurity. But I hope to put my hands together with all my colleagues to work together to ensure there is security, that people come and invest and do projects without fear that things will come. We don't have any other options. Our option is peace, first option, and last option, and everything in between is peace. So we should focus on, in terms of building peace building and stability in our nation if we want to move further, and also rely on ourselves. So there is a lot of potentials in our country, but we have to put our heads into it to make sure that we rely on ourselves and not to rely on others all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. In the same token, we have concerns about domination of the investment sector, the private sector, by foreign businesses. It's in fact that in South Sudan, businesses and opportunities to do business are mostly controlled by foreigners. So, how do you ensure that the locals are able to not only compete but also access markets and benefit from trade? Do you have any special measures put in place to protect the local traders, especially the women?
Mm. Yeah, I think, of course, businesses, this all comes from entrepreneurs. And I encourage, I've been encouraging our youth also to find ways of starting businesses if this is one of their talents or of what they would like to do, and also to establish maybe partnership and different things to support their employment and support other ways of generating income for themselves. Uh, yeah, generally our communities they have businesses, but the businesses are smaller and they need a support to grow. In terms of that, I have had several meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and other business owners here, and they're moving. They're moving there. I think there's so many businesses that are owned by South Sudanese, but there are also many businesses that are owned by foreigners. We have been discussing about in terms of growing their businesses, but sometimes it's just the market itself is not supportive in terms of supplies, because our roads, we kind of get cut off from sources of products during the rainy season. But all of this again is tied together. So sometimes it just people get discouraged because they are not able to get materials in time for their businesses. But we are definitely talking with business owners to see if there is if they have any problems or how we can address their issues. But we also need, and some of this is just the people themselves. If you are not an entrepreneur, you cannot do business. But those who are in businesses, they are getting our support in terms of success, and we hope that they will continue and also take control of the markets, so we don't have many foreigners. But we also welcome the foreign traders, but we would also like to encourage our own business people to prosper. As I mentioned earlier, some of the women, a lot of the women owners, they have a difficulty of growing because of lack of support. But we are also encouraging the women's businesses and finding support for them to help grow their business from small businesses to large ones. So that's in place, but it also goes back to the person or those who own businesses to continue to grow, and we as a government will definitely support them. I realize that also many people like to join workforces, especially the government positions. But I also want to encourage the youth to start businesses if that is something that they would like to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. When we talk about the foreigners who are coming in and benefiting from the riches of our country, there's a substantial portion of our population that are outside the country. We have our diaspora, and Western Equatoria is not an exception. Western Bahar Ghazal, sorry, pardon me, is not an exception. It has a huge diaspora population who are who are who would like to come back and contribute towards the development of the state. What diaspora programs do you have in place, or do you plan to develop to try to attract the diaspora to come and support in the development of the country, as well as to bring in their resources to invest in the various sectors within Western Bahar Ghazal state?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think we definitely we would like to encourage the diaspora. I am from the diaspora, and I'm encouraging all my colleagues, fellow South Sudanese, to come. And there is a lot of potentials here. that we can come and put our hands together in developing our country and working with everyone who's here. Yeah, I understand that sometimes it is difficult to just get up and go, but if we are determined, we have a lot to offer to our country. So as a member of the diaspora, I and previously we have with previous governments we have talked about establishing diaspora desks in the office of the governor, and I think I would like to take that up again to establish a diaspora desk in the state headquarters, and that would be a connection between the state and the people in the diaspora. I know those who are in the diaspora, they have a lot, displacement and years of isolation from home.
Please bear with us. I believe the network is a bit slow, so I would request our audiences to please wait briefly for Her Excellency Sarah to make her concluding remarks for tonight's show. So please do bear with us. While we wait for Honorable Sarah to come back, I've noticed that there were a lot of questions that were being raised by members of the audience, and what I would like to tell our audience is that thank you for your participation. We might not have answered all your questions, but the concerns and the suggestions you have made would be responded to by the Honorable Governor. Even after the show, she would definitely take time to respond to your questions and address them, or suggestions, and put them into practice. Among some of the questions that I can look at, some are repeated, but nevertheless, we thank your participation. And a question that I would like the Honorable Governor to take is on policies and regulations that would support locals who are not benefiting from the trade hijack, let's not use the word hijack, maybe, by foreign businesses, and how we can work towards devising a policy or laws that will favor local businesses. In previous shows, we had discussions on that. And among some of the suggestions we made was that we should look at the practice that is going on in some of the neighboring countries. For example, if you go to Kenya, Uganda, or even Ethiopia, where I am currently, you would not be able to work. And that is simply because most positions are reserved for nationals. Of course, if you come as part of an international institution, then that is possible. But other than that, nationals are given priority. And as a country, we need to look into policies of localization where positions, not just uh, low level positions, but almost all positions are reserved for nationals. And when we have a gap and we do not have the nationals with the requisite qualifications, we can ensure that we send people to be trained and then eventually have them take over from the non nationals who have been holding these positions. Uh, Honorable Sarah is still having some challenges there, but still food for thought is on these issues that we are talking about attracting our diaspora. You know, the diaspora has been portrayed negatively in some instances, and that is especially due to some of the conflict and the divisions that are in existence. And these, to me, are linked to the political situation in the country where people are divided on tribal lines. But the reality on the ground is different. I have been to Juba several times and I've seen people coexisting and living together, unlike what is going on in the diaspora. And there is a need for us to really work towards fostering unity and ensuring that as a diaspora, we work towards one common goal, which is one South Sudan for all of us, and work towards bringing in our money to invest in our country and gradually bring about development. Uh, Honorable Sarah is having challenges still, and I think I've kept you waiting for long. But a thing I would like to say is that today's session was quite enjoyable because we managed to move to a different level of government from what we have been handling throughout. We've had sessions with ministers at the national government level, but late Dr. John said we need to move towns to the people. And when we are working with our state governments, we are working towards ensuring that development is taken to the vast majority of our people who live within the states. The states have been neglected for very long, and I believe that if we continue working together, we could make a difference in ensuring that resources reach the needy people within our country. So I thank Honorable Sarah for the time she has spent with us today, for sharing the programs that she is doing, for giving us the reassurance we need that our rights as women are protected. We need to ensure 35% representation is adhered to. Welcome back, Honorable. I was almost
Okay.
concluding, but sorry.
I'm sorry. That's the
Yeah,
situation here in Wow.
yeah. So I was just thanking you actually for the very fruitful discussion that we have had and all the things that you have shared about the programs you're doing. It's been less than a year since you were appointed, but you are doing an amazing job in the state. There's relative stability in Western Bahr Ghazal today, and we have to give credit where it's due. And we thank you for all that you're doing for the people of Western Bahr Ghazal and consequently for the people of South Sudan too. I would have loved to ask many more questions, but I'm a bit scared that the network might let us down again. However, I would like to give you an opportunity to make some concluding remarks before we end our show. So over to you for your concluding
Mm,
remarks and anything else that you would like to share with us that we might have not discussed
mm.
during our discussion today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I'm sorry for it, our network here. So I know I was talking about the diaspora. I want to go back to that. Being a member of the diaspora myself, I want to encourage all the South Sudanese to come back. I want to invite you to come back home and give whatever little that you can give to build our country, to build our different states. I have been in the I've been to the Philippines, and it is a country that depends on the returns from domestic workers abroad. So we as a diaspora, we have a lot to offer. If we organize ourselves and bring all your skills back home and contribute to the state in kind or in cash. I want to thank you for this program and just looking around here in Wow in Western Baragazal, I feel I have a lot of hope for what is going to happen. And I also don't want to live here without leaving any footprints. We have a lot of work to do. And since I came, I have connected with the people of Western Barakazal, and especially from the day I arrived, I have been visiting towns, and just the reception that I get from people here gives me a lot of hope, and also it also tells me that there is a lot that I should do, or that we have to put our hands together to do it for our country, for our nation. I have there are so many babies, girls who are named Sarah since I was appointed, and I don't want to come after 20 years and seeing that they are 20 years old and that they are not educated. I want to ensure that they do have a legacy, that they are named after someone who served them in the state, and that they are going to grow as the next generation of female leaders in the country. The same also for men, young men. They are boys they are boys who are named Surur, and I kind of feel very humbled and honored with all the families who would like to see that the name Sarah continues in many years to come. And so for that to happen, I don't want to disappoint them. I have to work hard to make sure that we prepare a better future for the children. Some families, some boys who cannot name Surur, some families who cannot name their boys Surur, they call me and ask me to name their babies, and I'm really very grateful to that, and to the hope that the people have given me, and I don't want to disappoint all of them. I think most importantly, we need unity and healing in our country. We should put our political differences aside and work together for our state and for our country. And for the people of Western Baragazan, I urge the leaders in the name of our people that we should make real peace among us. We need to unite regardless of our political, tribal, religious affiliations or any other affiliations that divide us, so that we can unite our communities, all Luo, Fertit, and the Dinkas. Our people's eyes are on us, and we need to really be very active. And I also call upon all the women, and what I've been also sharing with my women colleagues here, the women, the female population, that this seat is not my seat, it is the seat for all women. Because if I fail, it's going to be the failure of all women. So I would like all women and men for us to stand together, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of work, but everything will come and get easier for us sooner, not later, but sooner. Thank you so much for having me on this program. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Honorable Governor, for honoring our call to be on our show this evening. We appreciate the valuable information you shared about Western Bahar Ghazal. We believe that as the first governor to be hosted on this show, You would be an example for the other governors of what we expect to see in our country as a whole. We expect to see unity, we expect to see peace, and we expect to see development. As women, we are proud of your office, and we look forward to seeing full representation of women within the government of Western Bahr Ghazal, as well as all the state governments within South Sudan. We thank you for your time. We thank the audience for being with us and bearing with some of the technical glitches that we have faced today. We appreciate your participation through the questions that you have asked, and we would hopefully answer all the questions that you raised there. From me and all the women who are part of South Sudan Women Intellectuals Forum, good afternoon, good morning, and good night to all of you. I wish you all a good
Thank you.
evening, good morning, a good afternoon until we meet again. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.